I don't know if you've seen BNB, all-time high. It's in price discovery. I'm sitting here like, what in the world is going on here? Most altcoins still far away from all-time highs. What's up with this? What does it mean? And then I'd kind of just leave it. I did not dig into the data. I dug into the data. I found something. We have a risk model for BNB in our intelligence system. I didn't even realize it. Yesterday, I was like, do we have a BNB risk model? I went to look, and wait until you see what the risk model looks like. It blew my mind. I'm still trying to digest it, but it has everything to do with altcoin charts, especially as we hover at all-time high area on the altcoin market cap chart. We are going to look at this because when you see what was happening last cycle, it's a whole new perspective. Hit the subscribe and like on the way in if you're not in our intelligence system with our risk models, our exit planners, our AI, autonomous AI that's back there. These are proprietary models. Click the link below and get set up with a trial. If you don't like it, cancel before the trial is over. But get set up and see what you think of kind of the process of strategizing and planning this cycle so that you do not round trip the bull market. I'm going to show you right off the bat. This is what we're going to be discussing. This is what blew my mind. The BNB risk model is 33. I'm going to explain this because my initial thought was like, how is this possible? What is happening? I want to explain this. This would be very valuable for our members out there, an insight into how these risk models work. But even if you're not a member, we're going to look at BNB charts and take this into context. So this has everything to do with altcoin season, by the way, altcoin bull market. So let's start here. This is BNB chart on the weekly, all-time highs being broken. What I want to note is kind of, you see this week in July, basically getting some separation from all-time high, really getting a little separation, consolidation, then we went higher, just this general range. Well, if we look at last cycle, when it's breaking all-time high, right, this general range, January, but then February, this first week of February 2021, this is kind of where we are right now, BNB going into like this price discovery. So what was, first off, before we dive into the risk model for BNB, what was the altcoin risk model doing? And this is something we've been talking about anyway. Right now, the altcoin risk model in general is at a 27. February, the first week of February, when BNB was in all-time high price discovery area, the risk score was 46. This is something that, put aside the BNB data, we can say, you know what? 46 at this moment last cycle, meaning if you look at altcoin market cap chart, by the way, first week of February, hovering at all-time high. Right now, we're hovering at all-time high. Right now, it's a 27 risk. And back then, what did we just say it was? A 46. This is a great piece of data that suggests the bull market has not happened yet. We still have a lot of room to the upside. That is for sure. But that's one piece of data. But then now we can take the BNB chart and what's happening here, and we look at the risk model, and this is where things kind of get crazy for me. And I'm going to explain what's going on here, but let's look at the data first. So BNB kind of in this price discovery right now, very similar to right here, February 2021. You can look at altcoins from last cycle in February 2021, not doing what BNB was doing. Right now, altcoins not doing what BNB is doing right now. Go to the BNB risk model now. If we zoom in, this is crazy. It's at a 33, which is, that alone is something else. But if we go to February 1st, 2021, it was a 37. So even that is interesting because look at this power candle breaking all-time highs, already had some nice upside February 2021. Even then, the risk model, February 1st, 2021, sitting at a 37. It is so similar to the 33 that it sits in this time around. I want to just make a note. This does not mean like, boom, this is the week, everybody. Altcoin season taken off. If we learned anything, number one, risk models are no guarantee of anything. They're just a helpful guide. They're one very dynamic and unique chart and piece of data that we can look at, and there's a lot of data on these charts, but it's not a guarantee of anything. It helps us plan for sure. And the other thing paired with that is, if we've learned something else, this cycle, look at even the BNB risk model. Look how just extended from a timeline perspective it has been. Look at this. it's just sideways. It's so different looking than last cycle in that regard. But with this kind of move into price discovery, now we have a data point that we can really start dissecting and comparing to last cycle. And we see that BNB was in price discovery last cycle before other altcoins. And we see that the risk score, even for BNB at that moment in February, was in the 30s and low. I mean, look at this. It's a moderate buy. What's crazy is you go to Ethereum, it's at a 53. You go look at something like Cardano's at a 39. Chainlink is at a 42. And you can see Chainlink is still a ways away from all-time high, right? It's not like we're in price discovery for Chainlink, and it has a higher risk score than BNB. So I wanted to take this a little step further to really kind of at least explain it a little bit. If like Axel and Alessandro were on this video with me right now, and there are guys that have been just building these models. They are brilliant in that regard. They'd probably be able to really explain things. And I want to have them on the channel eventually, soon, hopefully. But I did go to Zero, our AI, autonomous AI. It's trained on our risk models. It's trained on the data. And I just wanted to ask Zero, what's going on here? Considering all the data that our risk models include, can you please explain how in the world BNB is sitting at a very low risk score while it's breaking nicely above all-time high, while most other altcoins are still far from all-time high with similar risk score? And it's just because like this situation breaks the norm. And I saw Marty Party, he's been posted, this was in August, BNB pumps early indicator. BNB starts moving, usually a sign Binance to pump the market. These are both in August. And I find that so interesting now, just looking back at those posts and seeing the risk models and how these cycles have moved. It is kind of making a lot of sense, but it's breaking the norm. The risk model and this data being presented to us right now is breaking the norm. It's not normal looking. The risk model isn't just focused on price behavior, like breaking all-time highs or relative distance to all-time highs. Instead, it integrates multiple dimensions of data. It gives a very lengthy explanation, but what I want to do is I just want to go over a few points. This means two assets with similar risk scores may have arrived there via very different underlying metrics. For example, BNB might have low volatility and strong on-chain activity, keeping its risk score low even at high prices. Another altcoin might have low risk due to being oversold and far from its all-time high. And that's a really good example of something like other altcoins like Cardano. The reason for the lower risk score is not just price, is not just because of price action. And I think this is a very helpful learning for all of us to remember as we really study risk models. BNB's low risk score while breaking all-time high can be explained by strengths in specific model inputs, on-chain activity. BNB is highly active with consistent transaction volume, DeFi usage, and ecosystem growth. How you interpret that data outside of what the risk score is, what the risk model is seeing, how you interpret that data in the crypto markets, that's up to you. And people interpret that data differently. Volatility profile. BNB often exhibits lower volatility. Key takeaway, risk does not equal price action. So as we study these risk models and we use these risk models as a guide through the cycle, I think these are just really helpful reminders. And you can see just in the comparison of Chainlink and Cardano versus something like BNB, the risk scores are based on a lot of different things happening. And you can see there are a lot of different things happening across these assets. So when we go back to the total crypto market cap chart, I think all in all, what we're seeing is BNB did this last cycle. It acted as an early indicator. I'm going to use it probably in the title of this video somehow. BNB acted as an early indicator for an altcoin bull move. And that just is what it is. And right now, the data and our risk models in particular, when it comes to something like, if we go back to BNB, is suggesting a very similar setup. Now, again, the thing that makes it different, if we look at all of this kind of just sideways action and just consolidation, what makes it different at this moment and why I think useful to do this video right now is BNB is in price discovery. And really the last time this happened from a cycle perspective was going into February 2021. And so now we have these kind of two things happening at the same time. And I think it is a powerful indicator for altcoins. So this is an insight that I think is unique. These risk models are incredibly valuable and absolutely unique. A very strong advantage, I would say, for our members that are using these risk models in terms of planning through these cycles. And really, if you look at a BNB model, there's still, if you look at last cycle, it was in the 30s at this moment. Look at the upside potential. There's so much upside in play. One thing we can take in particular with this model is, hey, we start getting into the 60s and 70s on this model. You can see it topped out in the 70s. Good idea to take profit. And this is what our members are doing. They're setting alerts. These are macro alerts, everybody, so that, you know, for me, for our members, we're not round tripping this cycle. We have a good idea of, man, it's time to start getting ready to take some profits. So BNB, you can see a very good example of how we are just getting started, at least from an altcoin perspective. So I wanted to share that with you. I hope you found value from the video. If you did, please subscribe, turn notifications on, hit that like button. And if you're not in the intelligence system, give us a try. We have the trial going on right now. And if you do not like it, just very simply cancel before the trial is over. But at least give it a shot and start setting up and planning, because that's what this is for. This is for planning. This is not for immediate actionable things right now at this moment. You can just see right now it's all about planning. And so that's what I'm doing on the macro. So I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.